Good evening. We're ready to begin. This Planning Commission meeting is called to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. These proceedings are being video recorded as well as presented live on KCLV, Cable Channel 2. You can also watch this meeting live on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV on the Go Vegas app. The Planning Commission meeting, as well as all other KCLV programming, can be viewed on the internet at www.kclv.tv/live. The proceedings will be rebroadcast on KCLV and the web the Saturday after the meeting at 10 a.m., Monday at midnight, and following Tuesday at 6 p.m. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? The clerk, can we please call the roll?
Chair Cherry.
Present.
Vice Chair Williams.
Present.
Commissioner Schlotman.
Present.
Commissioner Rogan.
Present.
Commissioner Walsh.
Present.
Commissioner Kasama.
Present.
Commissioner Taylor.
Present.
Thank you, Chair. You have a quorum.
Thank you. To the audience here, I'll call your attention to the information printed in the agenda concerning our actions and the appeal and review process, if appropriate. There are agendas sitting right here if you'd like to follow along. Please read the second page of the agenda that contains our rules of conduct. We appreciate you adhering to these rules so we can have a smooth meeting. Moving on to item number 4. All comments made under this section for specific action will be cross-referenced to those items. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak under this portion? Seeing none, we will move on to item number 5. Vice Chair, could we get a motion to approve the Planning Commission meeting?
Yes, through the chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting of February 13th, 2024.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries. Moving on to item number 6, our housekeeping items. Are there any items that commissioners, staff, applicants, or member of the public would like to pull forward for action?
Mr. Chairman, Nicole Edos for the record, and we have 2 housekeeping items. The applicant is requesting to hold agenda item number 16, project number 23-0595, to the May 14th Planning Commission meeting, and this is the applicant's 3rd request. And the applicant is requesting to hold agenda item number 21, project number 23-0661, to the April 9th Planning Commission meeting, and this is the applicant's 1st request. We also have a correction for consent item number 7. The correct applicant should be from PN2 Inc. to Tri-Point Homes of Nevada. Thank you.
Thank you. And to the director, did you want to add in a notation?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just a quick correction. I made a comment at the last February meeting on item number 32, 24-0014, TXT1. I announced that it would move, it's a text amendment. I announced that it would move on to City Council on March 20th. It will be forwarded to City Council in ordinance form, so just wanted to make that clear on the record.
Thank you very much. To the Vice Chair, would you like to make a motion on the housekeeping items?
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, I'd like to make a motion on item 16 to obey item 16 to the 5/14/24 PC meeting. Item 21, obey to the 4/9/24 PC meeting.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries. Moving on to the consent items. Consent items are considered routine by the Planning Commission and may be enacted by one motion. However, any item may be discussed if a commission member or applicant so desires. Vice Chair, can we get a motion on the consent items?
I'd like to make a motion on the consent items.
Okay, we have a motion for approval on the consent items. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries. Okay. Moving on to the one motion, one vote. The following are items that may be considered in one motion, one vote. They're considered routine, non-public, and public hearing items with staff recommendation of approval. All public hearings and non-public hearings will be opened at one time. Any person representing an application or a member of the public or a member of the Planning Commission not in agreement with the conditions and all standard conditions for the application recommended by staff should request to have that item removed from this part of the agenda. I will read those now.
And, Mr. Chairman, before you do that, I forgot to mention that items 7 and 8 on the consent items are final action tonight, unless appealed to the city clerk in
Thank
7
you,
days.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the one motion, one vote items. Item number 9, 230487, applicant Meraki Greek Grill, owner High Point Venture LLC, for possible action on the following land use entitlement project request at 6420 Centennial Center Boulevard, Suite 120. Staff recommends approval. 9A 230487, SUP for a proposed 3,000 square foot beer wine cooler on-sale establishment with 240 square feet outdoor patio area. Related item 9B 230487, WVR1, to allow the removal of a required parking lot landscape island. Item number 10, 240019 SUP1, applicant Martinez Auto Center, owner NML Family Trust, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request for proposed motor vehicle sales used with a waiver to allow 23,958 square foot site area designated for the use, where 25,000 square feet is the minimum required at 1333 East Charleston Boulevard, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. Item number 11, 240020 SUP1, applicant Summer Hop LLC, owner Summerlin Restaurant Property LLC, for possible action on request for a land use entitlement project, request for a proposed 6,810 square foot pubs, bars, and lounges, on-premise beer, lounges use with alcohol, on-premise beer and wine at 9651 Trailwood Drive, Ward 2. Staff recommends approval. Item number 12, 240022 SUP1, applicant Ronald Bass, owner Weatherby Properties LLC, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request for proposed tattoo parlor, body piercing studio use at 943 North Pecos Road, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. And finally, item number 13, 240034 VAC1, applicant Greystone Nevada LLC, owner DRP NV4 LLC, for possible action on land use entitlement project request for petition to vacate U.S. government patent easements generally located at the northwest corner of La Madre Way and Grand Canyon Drive, Ward 4. Staff recommends approval. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone like to be heard on these items or any of these items? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and look for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion. Make a motion on the one motion, one vote items. Motion for approval.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries.
And, Mr. Chairman, those items are final action tonight, unless appealed to the city clerk in 10 days.
Thank you. I will be pulling some items out of sequence, starting with number 33. 240027 DIR1, applicant City of Las Vegas, owner Gary Cavalier, for possible action on land use entitlement project to request to designate the property known as Leroy and Carrie Christensen House as a historic site on the City of Las Vegas Historic Property Register, as approved by the Historic Preservation Commission at 500 West Van Buren Avenue, Ward 5. Staff recommends approval. Can we get the staff report, please?
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Diane C. Brandt. I'm the Historic Preservation Officer for the City of Las Vegas, And one of our goals is to add historic aged properties to the Las Vegas Historic Property Register. This house, which is called the Christensen House at 500 West Van Buren, is a very unique home. It is in the French eclectic style. It's made of stone. It has a tower. It was built in 1938, and it was the first permanent home in the West Side. We add properties to our register for their age and their uniqueness, but even more important is the intangible history that's connected to it. And this house was built by an African-American couple who were a very prominent couple in their neighborhood. They would welcome the Black community in the neighborhood to their homes for different gatherings and parties. And this was during a time, of course, of segregation, and so we've already added this house to the National Register of Historic Places for its association with the African American community in Las Vegas, and we want to have it on our register because this is what really provides the protection, because it will fall under our municipal code and it can't be changed on the exterior. Our Historic Preservation Commission has already approved this, and so we're now here seeking Planning Commission's approval to add the age historic layer. And I do have the owner here if she wanted to add anything.
Yes, I'm Julia, the wife of Gary Cavalier, who was mentioned as the owner. I had the privilege of meeting Ms. Carrie Christensen in 1989 when we acquired the house and were doing renovations on it. And she came to the door. She was living in Kentucky at the time, but came to tell me about the history of the house and how she and her husband lived in tents and then were able to acquire the stones from the railroad yard, and that how they planted all the biblical fruits in the yard, the pomegranate, the fig tree, and she was very happy that we were renovating it and that we were going to put it to good use. So I'm very pleased about an opportunity to preserve the actual house, but also the story of this very significant couple in that community, and a very, very creative and resilient and story of their lives.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for bringing this forward. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard on this item? Seeing no one, I will turn it over to the commission, and I will quickly say I've done the Pioneer Trail walk. It was wonderful. It was stopped at the house and got a lot of nice history to pass on in conversation and understand, and thank you for doing that. It was very nice. Commissioner Williams, Vice Chair Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion on item 24-0027 DIR1. Motion for approval.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, that item will move forward to City Council on April 17th, 2024.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 19. We're going out of sequence here a little bit. This is a re-notification, 230382. Applicant, City of Las Vegas, owner, United States of America and City of Las Vegas, for possible action on appeal of the approval of the Planning Commission on the following land use entitlement project requests at 7351 West Alexander Road, Ward 4. This was remanded back to the Planning Commission for consideration to address a sound study and associated recommendations. There's related item 19A, re-notification 230382 VAR1 to allow a 13-foot tall solid front yard wall where a 5-foot tall front yard wall fence with 2-foot solid base is the maximum allowed, and to allow a 10-foot tall perimeter wall where the 8 feet is the maximum allowed. Related item 19B, re-notification 230382 SDR1 for a major amendment to a previously approved development plan Z00228881 for the proposed expansion of the Wayne Bunker Park to establish an outdoor pickleball complex. Can we get the staff report, please?
Okay. I guess we're skipping to me.
Yeah.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. Rosa Cortez, City Engineer, Deputy Director of Public Works.
Patrick O'Mara, Deputy Director of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs.
Thank you for having us this evening. We are back to talk about the pickleball courts. I think all of you are very familiar with this project. I have a slideshow. I'd like to run through some details of the project, the history, and what our next steps are tonight.
Please do.
So before I go into the history of the project, let's just review where the project's located. It is at Wayne Bunker Park in the northwest part of the valley off of Alexander Road and Buffalo Drive. You can see the project is outlined there in the magenta. This project started about 4.5 years ago when the city was authorized to purchase the 2.45 acre parcel back in October of 2019. After that, the city submitted for the SNPLMA Round 18 funding for the pickleball complex in 2020. Soon after, the city awarded a consultant design contract for 50% design documents in 2021. Then we heard from the U.S. Secretary of Interior that the project was to be awarded for $12.09 million a year after the application was submitted. The city then submitted for the GPA and zoning a month later and was approved at planning, and then it went to council in December. Then we didn't hear back from the BLM until about a year ago when we actually got the funding agreement, and that came to council, and the funds were approved for the city to use. Late last year, the city came forward with the SDR and the wall variance. It was approved at planning, and then just a month ago when we went to council, the item was remanded back to Planning Commission for the design modifications we did to the wall height. So some of the things that we've done after hearing from the residents and understanding all their concerns, we've made some significant changes to mitigate that. And the first thing we did was reduce the courts from 30 to 24. We revised the layout by placing the parking lot south of the courts to create a bigger buffer between the residents and the courts. We increased the wall height around the south property line, and we're now doing a wall on the west property line, which we're increasing beyond what the code requires. That's why we're here for the wall variance. We increased landscaping on Constantinople to create another buffer. We are not installing streetlights along that perimeter of the project. We're only going to do sidewalk, curb, and gutter. We're going to add the no parking signs as well. And we completed the noise study as part of the condition we received back in December at the Planning Commission. And the results of that noise study indicates that the wall along the south property line should be 13 feet high, and a new wall on the west side should be 10 feet high. So here is the new layout. You can see the courts. Of the 24, the 2 center ones are the championship courts. We have the restroom concession building on the southeast part of the site. We have LED lighting for the courts and the parking lot. We had shade over all spectator seating. championship and regular courts. The seating only, not the courts themselves. The walls are now labeled there, the 13-foot walls and the 10-foot wall. The courts will have chain link fence around them, and the entire complex will have a chain link fence. Access to the facility is from Alexander Road. So the users of the complex will come through the park. They can park in this parking lot and enter through the access that is from the parking lot down south there. This is our landscape plan. You can see all the trees and shrubs throughout the complex and along Constantinople. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. And
Actually, my apologies. Next steps.
oh, next steps.
Next steps. So after today, if we move forward, we will be able to have our design consultant finish up the design. Then they'll submit the plans to community development for permitting. Once the permits are issued, we can submit the bid package to purchasing. We expect to start construction second quarter of 2025 with a 12-month construction schedule, being able to have the complex open in second quarter of 2026. And then we will be programming it, and Patrick here can talk a little bit about that.
So we're in the beginning plans for how to program this site right now, but we expect it to be pretty consistent with our other athletic complexes, which are 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., where lighting systems are automatically overridden and turned off at 11 p.m. We have, through the Marshals Service and their contract, gates and fencing will all be locked up at that time. And then we anticipate it being somewhat similar to what some of the other pickleball complexes are doing in the valley, where there will be some courts that are always open play unless there's some sort of tournament going on. There will be some that are reservable and not, and things of that nature as well. So.
Okay.
So after that, at the last planning commission, we have a condition to do an administrative review 6 months after programming and operation of the complex. So we'll be coming back. So thank you.
All right. Thank you for the presentation from the both of you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this item? If you do, please come to the podium. State your name and address for the record. I'll give each person 2 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Beverly Salhanik, 7445 Constantinople. I am the resident who is most impacted by these courts. I want to note to you that I filed the appeal. There were 3 issues in the appeal. The only issue that was ruled upon or considered somewhat by City Council was the sound study. That sound study is flawed. If you look at it, the primary issue in there is that there's an increase in well, if we put up a wall, it'll all go away. Problem is you have no data in that study to support that contention. Because you have no data, that makes any decision by this commission arbitrary and capricious. The report also states that the impulsive noise will exceed the county standards, but it makes its recommendation based on ambient noise. There's no basis for making that determination just on ambient noise. Again, renders the decision arbitrary and capricious. The appropriate measure is impulsive noise because pickleball is a series of impulsive noises. It is not an ambient noise like a humming refrigerator or a vacuum cleaner. I object to the term sensitive individual used repeatedly in the report. I do not consider that a professional report. I'm going to ask you to keep in mind, I was a litigator for 35 years. I understand how you get an expert report. You talk to the expert, you say, this is where we want to go, and the expert does the report. On the no parking signs, no parking signs are still going to be ineffective.
I'm going to ask you to wrap up if you can.
I have a lot to discuss because this
I
is...
need to keep the meeting going. I'm giving everyone 2
I
minutes.
understand, but if you cut me off, we're going to have a due process issue.
Okay, well, then we'll have a due process issue.
You really want to do that to a litigator?
Listen, I'm not going to be like threatened by. I want to go through this fairly for everybody.
Well, I want to know.
Have a nice, smooth
I would
meeting.
thank you. I'd like to know where in that timeline.
If you'd like another minute to keep going,
I would.
Then I'll give you another minute.
Thank you.
How's that?
I'd like to know where in the timeline is the drainage study that is mandated. This is both a flood zone and more than 2 acres. That's the city rules. I want to know if you're going to work with the state engineer, because the placement of that restroom may impact us and may require us to come off our well at a 6-figure expense. On the additional recommendations regarding the use of things like noise-reducing paddles, where is that going to be dealt with? Is there going to be a full-time employee there to monitor that? How are they going to deal with irate pickleball players? We've seen recently a fight at the Realtors Board, people coming over desks at the clerk's office, at judges. We'd request that parking lot heights be limited to 22 feet. And we would note that the timeline was somewhat inaccurate. It did not include that the 12/12/23 was approved with recommendations.
All right, we're going to wrap up.
The hours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can I get the next person, please? I'll need your name and address for the record, and you'll have 2 minutes for your points. If there's anybody else that would like to be heard on this item, please come up. There's 3 microphones that you can come up to.
Thank you so much. I'm Darla Christensen, 10301 Tower Ridge Avenue, and I'm here representing the Pickleball New Dinkers of Las Vegas. It's an organization of pickleball players here in Las Vegas that's over 8,000 pickleball players. Last month alone, I trained 282 brand new players. How exciting is that, to be able to bring health and happiness to so many people? You know, I can tell you guys about Zillow's study where recently 64% increase of pickleball with housing, and how that's such a huge amenity access to those housings. All luxury groups that do housing now are looking at pickleball as one of their key features that they want in housing, and how Zillow says that in 2024, there are 4 things that are going to raise the quality of your housing and the pricing, and one of them is pickleball. So it's such an exciting thing to see pickleball going crazy out there. But for me, it's not about how it's going to increase my house or the value. It's about what it does for humans. It is happiness and it is health. I came forward with my story about the tragedy that I went through and the PTSD and how pickleball saved my life. And because of that, now people are open to come to me and tell me what they've gone through. This week, a woman came to me and said, I just got cleared with breast cancer, and it's so exciting to be out and amongst people, and how exciting for her to live her life again. A gentleman told me that all he did in the last year of his life was drink. He was a terrible alcoholic, and someone introduced him to pickleball. He's been sober since January. He plays with us 3 times a week. I also had a lady whose daughter was murdered, and it was just tragic for her. She reached out to me directly, said, can I just work with you? I'm too anxious to go around public. We worked together for a while. She's now out playing with people. She's enjoying her life. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Guys, thanks for letting me speak. I appreciate you.
Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Deputy City Attorney, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good evening. My name is Rachel Martinez, and I'm a retired law enforcement officer, 27 years. I'm currently working for Metro Police Department. I work in the Criminalistics Bureau of the Crime Lab. I do ballistic testing of firearms, and the number of firearms that come in from crimes or that are confiscated from individuals is unreal. And so what we get, we receive cartridge cases from shot spotters. And I'm sure you're aware of what shot spotters are. but they alert the police department of the noise from shotguns, and then Metro Police or other police departments respond, and they either find individuals that are involved in shootings, or they find the cartridge cases from the shootings. That is noise. That is unwanted noise. That is dangerous noise. Those are from gangs. Those are from drug dealings. Those are from violent crimes. We have pickleball. Well, we need more things for children to do. We need more events, more activities for kids. There are not enough pickleball courts, not for adults. And I'm sure you've heard that pickleball is addicting. And for me, I'm addicted to nothing. This is the closest thing to addiction I've ever had. I play about 4 times a week. If I could play more, I would, but I'm 64 years old and I don't think my body would hold up. But what is so important is that we have access for something for people with addictions. I've known and I've met and I've played with people that have had alcohol addictions, gambling addictions, drug addictions, and they come out and play, and they're addicted to pickleball. We have kids that need things to do, so I'm going to wrap this up, and I think we need less shot spotters and more pickleball courts.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me speak.
Yep. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Hello, my name is Patty Chess. I live at 5644 Lusitano Street, and I am 5 minutes from Wayne Bunker. I was at the first town hall meeting about this park when I remember them saying 32 courts. I was ecstatic. That was years ago, and I have more gray hair. I would like these courts built in my lifetime if it's possible. But really what I want to say, I'm impressed by your commission and your sensitivity to the neighbors and the changes that happen, even if I didn't like them, because I really think we're trying to work together in this community to please all citizens. So I just encourage this new plan to be accepted and for us to be able to move on as fast as I can, or we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record? I'm going to ask you to hold the applause just so we can get through. Thank you. Can I get your name and...
Yeah, Maria Guerra, 7415. I'm sorry, I have allergies going here. 7415 Constantinople. I'm directly across the street from the courts on the south side. And first I do want to say I'm not here to argue about anything about pickleball being not needed. I'm all for it. I think it's wonderful. I have nothing against pickleball. I'm just against these courts going up across from my home. And to be honest, I think pickleball players should be able to be as loud as they want and be able to use whatever paddles and balls they want, but the right location from the beginning needs to be picked, and that was not done here. Apparently that was 4 years ago, and we didn't even know about this until 2 years ago when it came to zoning, to rezoning it. I think location should have been the most important thing from the start before they even started this grant approval. There's a reason this is a growing problem around the country, but yet the impact sound pickleball has on its surroundings is being treated like a conspiracy theory when it's just people wanting to be able to keep their quality of life that they currently have. I appreciate the sound study. That was great. I don't need to repeat anything that my neighbor said about the sound study. I wish it was in more layman terms. I researched a little bit, but I understand some of it. But I do know that the daily ambient sound in the sound study is what we are used to. And even if it's a little high, they're just normal everyday hums that are not an annoyance and not even heard when we're indoors. But pickleball sounds don't even belong in a normal sound spectrum, and these studies don't seem to address enough of the annoyance part of the impactful repetitive sound that will be projected in our neighborhood. I personally don't believe a 13-foot wall is going to take care of that. I think the 13-foot wall will make pickleball sound like this, instead of like this. And it's repetitive, and times 5, 10, or even 24 courts. I have about 5 seconds, and I just lost my notes, and I had more to say, but you get the idea. Thank you for listening.
I do appreciate you coming out. Thank you very much. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Kim McMurray, 7425 Constantinople Avenue. I'd just like to underscore what my neighbors have already said. We have great concerns about our property value, and our quality of life. We have concerns about, my husband and I purchased our home approximately 9 months ago. And the first that we heard about these courts was about 4 months ago. Had we known, we would not have purchased our home. We have concerns about the layout of the complex, about the extended hours, the parking issues that we know that we're going to have on Constantinople and our cul-de-sac. Also, the lighting within the parking lot, we have concerns about that. And like my neighbor has said, we're not against the complex. We just want to work with you guys to make sure that our quality of life is preserved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello.
Hey there. My name's Steve Friedel, 7415 Constant. Oh, and did I hit the button? I'm sorry, guys. Which one?
There you go.
There we go. Oh, dang, there goes 10 seconds already in my time.
You can have it back.
Steve Friedel, 7415 Constantinople. Let's see. I am here right now. I am going to read something from the Desert View Senior Living Assisted Care Center, which is right on the corner. All right, Charles Wolf is the Community Relations Director. He wasn't able to make it, but he handed me this, and this represents, this petition is being submitted representing 123 seniors that reside at the Senior Living Assisted Living Center who are going to be impacted by this. They all agree that this is something they don't want. So we didn't bring a cheering crowd with us, but at this time of night, most of them people are probably trying to sleep, which they won't be able to do once pickleball noise starts going in. All right, but we got 123 people there who are going to be negatively affected by these pickleball courts. All right, I'm going to finish off by reading this. Maria, I can't get done.
Steve, did you want to turn that in for the record?
Yeah, if I may, sure.
We brought lots of copies.
I'll give the rest of my time so she can finish reading that last sentence, if I may.
Okay,
Please.
well, it's literally like 30 seconds.
Sure.
I just wanted to say that there's a reason that pickleball courts are being closed down and litigated across the country. You can research that on your own. Again, if the right location is picked out in the first place, we would not be having all these issues. There's still time to do the right thing. I wish they would just let this grant go and find a new location. I know they found a new location and BLM would not allow them to move the grant, but if it's been 4 years in the works and we only found out about it 2 years ago, I feel like there would have been a lot more time to stop all this, and everybody would be happy and have their courts. I think there should be more courts. I'm all for it, just not across from our home.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming out. I see one more person. If I can get your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Henry Gutierrez, 3804 North Bessemer Court. I happen to live right behind this park. I wasn't really intending to come up here today, but I have a sort of separate concern. Not really a concern, but more of a question and curiosity with respect to those who are closest to this development and affected by it. I would like to know, I'm actually a supporter of the project, but I would like to know if it were within the capabilities of the grant and the people, the developers of this project, to beautify and modernize the rest of the park a little bit, because I've noticed some deterioration of that park. And I take my kids there often, and it's right around the corner from my house. So I would like to know if it were possible to include that within their scope, just to beautify and modernize the park overall a little bit. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I will now close the public hearing and go back to the applicant. And if there's anything that you wanted to add before I turn it over to the commission for discussion.
Thank you, Chairman. So in regards to some of the commentary received tonight, in regards to the drainage study question, the drainage study is actually being prepared right now. It's part of the design process. So in that study, it's going to determine what stormwater flows are coming down Constantinople and what measures the city needs to do to mitigate that if there is a flooding concern. So after that study is submitted and our flood control section reviews that study and determines that improvements need to be made, those improvements will be incorporated into the study. into the project. My apologies. In regards to the water line being extended on Constantinople for the restroom, I believe that Assembly Bill 220 that was passed in the last legislation revised the distance of property owners on well to 1,250 feet. And the properties on the south side of Constantinople, I believe, are within 800 feet of the existing water line. With that being said, extending the water line does not make the situation any worse than it is already, being that they're within the 1,250 feet of an existing stop.
Okay.
It is true that the State Division of Water Resources makes that determination. The city has no authority over that.
Okay.
In regards to the parking issue question, we did mention that we are adding those no parking signs along Constantinople on the City of Las Vegas side of the right-of-way. As you know, Constantinople is the dividing line between Clark County and the City of Las Vegas. And the issue about the height of the poles in the parking lot and whether there's a concern about the lighting maybe shining across and being an annoyance. The lights in the parking lot are going to be 20 feet tall with the shield, so the lights will be projected toward the parking lot, toward the complex. And then the last comment about the sound study not having data. In the appendices, all the data is included from the output model. And the conclusion made by the sound study firm used the county ordinance thresholds to set the height of the wall for the one along the south property line, which were more stringent than the city ones. And that's all written in the sound study. And we rely on the expert of the sound study to let us know how to mitigate the sound of the pickleball.
I'll address a couple of things from the Parks and Recreation and Operations side. There was a question about some renovations of the remainder of the park. And while we do try and hit them all the time, that park is not currently on the immediate list, but we do have 87 parks that we try and share that capital improvement with. And so it is in the plan, and we are working on actually increasing our park standards to do some general things that we can do on the maintenance side, and see the park improved, and that's actually all citywide. But I'm not aware of any immediate plans right now for that park, in the next 2 years or so. But certainly we do look at those on a regular basis to identify and reallocate, reallocate those funds for the most immediate need. There was a question about the staffing plan, and that we are pretty early on that side of it from the Parks and Recreation side. We have had conversations about, getting staff and staffing it ourselves. There is also precedent for a third party similar to what we have over at the Darling Tennis Center. That's still something that we are working on, given that we're a little ways out from opening the facility. Most of the other pickleball complexes that are of this side don't have staff on a regular basis, but they do have staff on site for things like tournaments, and certainly parks maintenance comes in on a regular basis to take care of cleanliness and that kind of thing. But we have started having those conversations in the department level from that side of things. I believe that was, the last question was about hours of operations. All of our parks operate on a 7 to 11 basis. So it's consistent. Wayne Bunker already operates on that time frame. So we do see that continuing and being consistent with all of our other sports-specific complexes, as well as even our neighborhood parks. So,
Thank you. I'm going to turn this over to the commission and send this to Commissioner Kasama.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation as well as the comments from both sides of the issue and the audience. As you can see from the timeline, this has been going on for quite some time, even prior to since I've been here on the commission. So I am pleased that the sound study was conducted with a firm that you said is an expert on such sound studies. With that in mind, I do appreciate the changes to the layout in order to have the parking lot as a more of a buffer, if you will, extending the height of the wall, additional landscaping, clarifying, right, that these hours are standard operating procedure for across parks citywide. With that in mind, too, I also appreciate clarification on the process of the drainage study that is being done, reemphasizing that there is no parking on Constantinople, that will be signed, and if there are violations, of course, there are ways to notify code enforcement or Metro if needed in order to make sure that people are obeying what we will be putting in terms of signage there. As it stands, and also do appreciate you clarifying the comments on the water and the septic, and that those are separate issues, that the construction of this pickleball would not impact those. Those are separate issues. To your point, AB 220 did extend that radius of 1,250 feet. So with that in mind, this has been, obviously a difficult agenda item, is one where there is lots of support. There is obviously concerns, though, to the quality of life. Do believe that these are mitigations that we've taken, as well as with the 6-month admin review upon completion and start of the operation. I would, barring further comment from the commission, I would.
Thanks. Rosa, I just have one question for you. If the noise study is wrong, and it turns out that it's more annoying than expected, and those neighbors that immediately to the south or across Alexander are upset, what do you do?
So as part of that 6-month review after operation and programming, we will conduct another sound study that will measure the actual sound during pickleball use, and whatever recommendations come out of that study, the city will incorporate whatever is recommended.
So there's no alternative at this point. It's not like all of a sudden we're just going to put bubbles up on all of these courts if it turns out that the DBA level is louder than it was expected. That's not under consideration at this point, but it would be under consideration in the future. And I'm not saying that specifically we'd be putting bubbles, but there's other options that are available.
I'm sure there's other options. I mean, we've seen sound attenuation in walls. That wasn't a conclusion in the report.
Right.
So there are other measures, and until we have it functioning, we really don't know that. So we use a model based on national pickleball across the U.S.,
okay,
and that's what the study was based on.
All right. Well, Commissioner Kasama, I'm going to support you in your decision that you're making. I do have concerns. I think that noise pollution is a problem that we should be paying more attention to in the local level. I'm concerned about the staffing. I would encourage there to be a staff person in there so that there's some enforcement of those additional general noise options that are provided. If you're considering that, I would suggest that you do have that staff person to enforce that. And Rosa, if the noise comes back something louder than what was expected, I hope you take it very seriously, because noise is something that really affects people's daily life. And especially pickleball noise, as one of the commenters has mentioned, is prevalent, and many, many people find it very annoying. So with that, Commissioner Kasama, I'll support you, but with those considerations in mind.
I appreciate your comments. So with that, I would like to make a motion to approve item agenda 19, renotification 23-0382, with the updated staff conditions.
And that's a blanket motion, Commissioner?
Blanket motion.
Great. So motion on the floor, please cast your votes. I'm not seeing it on the screen here. We do, no, we could do a verbal. Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
I have an aye. We can just go down the line.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And Commissioner Consama is an aye. So everybody is an aye, and that motion will carry.
And Mr. Chairman, that item will be final action tonight unless appealed to the city clerk in 10 days.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on, we're going to jump to now item number 28. This is 240033 VAR 1, applicant owner Ivan Sanchez, for possible action on the land use entitlement project request to allow a 12-foot corner side yard setback where 15 feet is required, a 2-foot separation from the primary dwelling where 6 feet is required, a 0-foot yard setback where 3 feet is required for an existing residential accessory structure, a casita, a 0-foot rear yard setback where 3 feet is required for an existing residential accessory structure, a shed, a 0-foot rear yard setback where 3 feet is required, and a 0-foot side yard setback where 3 feet is required for an existing residential accessory structure, a chicken coop, and a total accessory structure coverage of 63% of the primary dwelling floor area where 50% is the maximum allowed, and to allow residential accessory structures, casita, shed, and chicken coop to not be aesthetically compatible with the principal dwelling unit where such is required at 2401 Howard Drive. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant has constructed 3 residential accessory structures without permits that fail to comply with Title 19 development standards. According to the submitted plans, the subject structures include a casita, chicken coop, and a shed. No evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented in that the applicant has created a self-imposed hardship by constructing unpermitted and non-compliant structures. The removal or replacement and redesign of the subject structures would allow conformance to Title 19 standards. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the requested variance. Please note there have been additional letters of protest submitted since publication. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I don't see the applicant here. I did see, if you could please come up to the, thank you, to the podium here, to the dais. And can we get your name and address for the record, please?
Good evening. My name is Ivan Sanchez. I reside on 2401 Howard Drive. Those actual structures, they wasn't built by me. They were there when I bought the house. So they were already existing on there. When it came to coming here to the city on the first floor, we went back all the way to where they had record of them. So back in 1998, those structures stand. So whoever was the prior owner of those properties, I don't know if there was different laws or requirements or whatever back then, but other than that, the structures, they serve a purpose. For me, for my family, for my kids, you know, we like to enjoy going out and barbecuing. My wife, my 2 little kids, and my oldest son, 17, 7, and 5. The little one, he has autism. The reason why we have the chickens, in pandemic times, I got furloughed for like 4 months. They wasn't having no school, so his therapist asked us to see if he finds anything that could calm him down and stuff like that. So one time we went to not Traxxas Supply, Cows Ranch. I fell in love with the little chick. So was my daughter. So bought him like 5 little chicks, and those are the ones that we have. He goes out there, he calms himself, he grabs them, he pets them, and all that. So I did some research, and they said that you could have up to 10 hens, no roosters. So we have that. The shed, the main shed on the side of the house, it serves as a purpose because that's where we like to go in the summer days. We go out there, we hang out. I buy them these little pools of, so they can chill out on the summer times. It serves as where I keep their bikes, their toys, and all this stuff like that belongs outside. That's mainly the purpose of it. And it's not a casita, it's just a structure, a wooden structure with no power, no electricity, just a shed. The other part on the backside of it, it serves a purpose because of the heat. On 110 degrees, 115 degrees days, the sun just bears on that side of the house, and my AC unit just barely keeps up. So with that in place, it covers like 60% of the heat that goes into the house. So my AC runs a little bit smoother, I guess you're supposed to do it. So also when it rains, without that structure, I think it will flood the whole backyard of all the way to the dwelling of the house. I had issues. I had to redo pavement, and all that stuff like that, the stucco of the house because of the water, the moisture, and all that stuff like that. So literally, that's what it's there for. Other than that, I had to put, like, on the existing side shed, I had to put like a rolling door just to keep eyes from people that like to steal stuff, because anything that I leave there, I have like a little chain link fence which is like 4 foot. They jump it over, they take whatever I have there. And the neighborhood has gotten so bad where it's the daily route. You get up, you see a bunch of undesirable stuff that you see on the sidewalk. Me as a parent, I have my kids come out and stuff like that. I can't even have them playing in the yard anymore. We never had that issue, but now that they built the Wildfire Casino that's right there, all those people intended to push, towards Oakey Boulevard, since there's more traffic because of the complexes. So, to me, they serve a big purpose on my family.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Thanks for explaining the application. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone like to be heard from the public on this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. I'm going to turn it over to the commission.
Let me just one more thing. I have went to my immediate neighbors. I have, told them, talked to them about that and all that, and they're in favor of. They don't have no problems with the items, with the structures or anything like that. I have all my neighbors. I have about 7 different signatures from the.
Do you have that here that you wanted to turn in? If you could turn that in, that'd be great. And I'm going to turn it over to the commission now for discussion, and go to Commissioner Schlotman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm just looking one additional thing up on my screen here. And what was the gentleman's name, the applicant?
Mr. Sanchez, Ivan Sanchez.
Mr. Sanchez, was this part of the SHIFT program where the city come out and trying to assist with getting some of the code enforcement things cleaned up? Look, I understand what you're trying to do, and a lot of times I'll look favorably on applicants that come forward with these things, because especially if everything in the neighborhood is similar, but the problem with this is some of these structures don't even look like they would pass building code, and even if you got past planning code, which is what you're here before the planning commission on, you'd have to pull a building permit, and you'll have to make sure that these buildings could even withstand the building code for wind, seismic, whatever else, fire codes, because you got to build a firewall between you. When you're that close to a property line, you'll need to have some sort of fire separation, and you might find that some of these structures might be too costly to improve, and so we're kind of spinning our wheels here. When SHIFT come out to your property, did they bring anybody from building and safety?
They did not, but they explained a lot of those things. So
what I'd like to do is, because There's no sense in us rushing through this. It's already built. It's just trying to see if we can get something permitted. So what I'd like to do is hold this in advance for 60 days and get with the fine guys down at Building and Safety. I'm sure like Tony or Mike Giordano, one of those guys would come out and walk through this and tell you some of the obstacles that you're going to face, and if there's anything that they could do to help you. But another thing, what happens in the backyard with the chicken coop, I mean, only you can see, like the pallet and the makeshift gate and that stuff. That shouldn't be bothering your neighbors. But on the main street that's coming in on the side of your house where you have the storage shed and half of it is a gable roof and half of it's completely filled in, the other half is not filled in and is not harmonious and compatible with the rest of the structure. So two things. I'd like to see if you can you can come talk to planning staff and they can get you in contact with one of the people at Building and Safety who can kind of walk you through and tell you some of the obstacles that you'll have so you can make a determination on what you'd like to do with the property. And then number two, if you decide that it's something that you could afford to do and something that you want to pursue and you come back to us, have a game plan put together on what you're going to do to make that aesthetically compatible with your house. Maybe you finish off the front face that's facing the street with that same type of siding and you paint it the same color as your house or something. But just from the photos and everything, there was a lot of tarps and other things that were covering whatever on the outside of that. Let's see about cleaning that up, painting it, making it look a little nicer.
I have no issues with doing all that.
Okay, but before I make a determination that may go nowhere because you may decide to do something different, let's have Building and Safety go out there. And instead of rushing it and coming back in 30 days, how about we give you 60 days? That way you can have time to meet with Building and Safety, make up your mind on what you want to do. And you might have to price some of this out, and then you can come back. And if you'd like, you can get my number from Nicole or Peter or Jonathan here, and you can call me after Building and Safety comes through, and after you think about this and you think about what you want to do, call me up and tell me what you want to do, and then we can take another look at this.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, on item number 28, I move to hold this in advance for 60 days, and that would be to the May 13th Planning Commission hearing. May 14th Planning Commission hearing.
Thank you, Commissioners. A motion on the floor. Please cast your votes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And please get my number.
And that motion carries. All right, we are going to go to item number 30. 240042 VAR applicant owner Rita Laguna for possible action on the following land use entitlement project request to allow a 0-foot separation from the primary dwelling unit where 6 feet is required and to be located within the front yard setback where such is not allowed for an existing residential accessory structure, carport, and 0-foot side yard setback where 3 feet is required and 0-foot separation from the primary dwelling unit where 6 feet is required for an existing residential accessory structure at 2400 Howard Drive. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, a code enforcement case has been ongoing since May 2023, citing code violations for an unpermitted residential accessory structure carport at the subject property. The case remains unresolved pending the result of this variance. The applicant has constructed 2 residential accessory structures without permits that both fail to comply with Title 19 development standards. According to the submitted justification letter, one structure is used as a carport and the other is used to provide shade to the owner's pets. No evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented in that the applicant has created a self-imposed hardship by constructing unpermitted and non-compliant structures. The removal or replacement and redesign of the structures would allow conformance to Title 19 requirements. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the requested variance. Please note that there have been additional letters of protest submitted since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Hi, my name is Rita Laguna. My address is 2400 Howard Drive, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89104. Thank you.
Thank you.
Translate.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Luis. I live at 2400 Howard Drive. Reason why we built this carpool is to provide shading for our vehicles. Since temperatures are rising every year, we want to provide protection for our vehicles so the sun doesn't destroy our cars. And since insurance is so high, it's going up. It's going to go up every year. We want to provide the best protection for our cars. Also, we do have a surveillance camera attached to the wall, and it does prevent a lot of crime from happening over there because the camera's not waterproof. The carport does provide some shelter for the camera, so it provides our sense of security to protect our vehicles from crime outside. And the left side of our where that little small shed is we built it there for a reason because of all the break-ins we had all in the past from vagrants that like to go inside our backyard and sneak in. They like to look in our backyard. And we had to call Metro in the past regarding that. They did suggest we do something about it by building up some kind of barrier, and we did that. So it is empty. It does provide plenty of ventilation back there. Nothing's used back there other than our pets to access the backyard easily. But mainly speaking, the carpool and the small room we built back there is mainly for our sense of security and to protect our vehicles and to protect our sense of belongings inside our home. And also is to protect the camera that provides us footage of whatever occurs outside. So if anything has to be turned over to law enforcement to solve whatever's happening in the neighborhood, that's why it's there for a reason.
Can I get your last name for the record, please?
It's Luis Ruiz.
Could you just spell last name? I'm sorry.
Last name is R-U-I-Z. First name L-U-I-S.
Thank you very much. Okay, this is noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing, turn it over to the commission for discussion, and go to Commissioner Schlotman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. So I reviewed this one. It's right across the street from the other particular project that was here. The difference here is we're talking about a carport that actually looks like it's standing pretty well.
Yeah.
And it is painted the same way and does look aesthetically compatible with the dwelling. Another thing that I typically look at are there other carports in the neighborhood in front of the house, and on your same street, within 3 houses of you, you have 2 other carports. So I think you're still going to have your work cut out for you on the what would that be, the east side of your house, where you filled in that little 4 or 5 foot section up to the block wall. Yeah. You're going to have to go through building safety and work on getting your building permits and trying to figure out how to put up a firewall or something to protect that. But that's not what we actually look at here. I think you may be able to pull that off, but on this particular unit, you do realize that you'll need to get building permits on this as well, correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, so I'd be willing to move forward on this particular item, and if you would like to have building and safety come out at some point to kind of take a look, because the guys down there are pretty knowledgeable and really knowledgeable and really helpful. And, since this is the shift program, you're going through the shift program as well?
Yes.
Okay. So since the city is initiating this, I think that we should put building and safety on this job as well and have them come out and take a look. I'm not going to hold this one in advance, but I think it would benefit you to have the city come out and take a look at it. That way you're not guessing with an architect and everything else on how to make this thing work, and try to see if we can help you out a little bit on that. So, Mr. Chair, if there's no other questions, I'd like to make a motion.
Please do.
So, and And you read the conditions of approval and agree with the conditions of approval if approved? Yeah. Okay. So on item 3024-0042, VAR1, I move to approve subject to staff's conditions.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries.
And that is final action tonight unless appealed to the city clerk in 10 days. And Mr. Chair, if I could just ask, you could speak with Nicole or Jonathan or Peter at the back, the guy walking with the suit back there, and they could get you, or they can give you directions on how to get in contact with building and safety. It'll help you out a lot.
All right, appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Going on to item number 14, abeyance renotification 230384 VAR1, applicant owner David James Robbins for possible action on land use entitlement project, request to allow an existing residential accessory structure to be located within the required front yard setback where such is not allowed at 1257 Campbell Drive. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the requested variance is the result of a code enforcement case for the subject property. If approved, building permits will be obtained for the structure. Staff finds that no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented in that the applicant has created a self-imposed hardship by allowing for an existing unpermitted and non-compliant residential accessory structure to remain on the property where the removal or replacement within required setbacks would allow conformance to Title 19 requirements. Please note there have been additional letters of protest that have been submitted since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, it's David Robbins, 1257 Campbell Drive. All right, so the shed was I had the shed in last year. When I purchased the house in 2021, there was an existing cement pad there, and some of the neighbors had told me there was a shed there before. So when I was looking up sheds and it said that with the size, I didn't need a permit, which was fine. Tough shed. I hired them to come in and put the shed in. I put a shed that would match kind of the style of the property. I wasn't aware of the variance. That was my fault. So since then, my contractors are coming out next week. They're laying more cement, and we are moving the structure so that it meets the variant or the code. So, because right now it's only a foot away from the block wall, and it needs to be 3. So we're adding cement and moving the structure.
Okay. Okay, this was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and go to Commissioner Rogan to discuss this one.
Thank you. Just for clarification, I met with Mr. Robbins a couple months ago when this was first noticed for public hearing. The issue is that he's on a corner lot. Under the code, his front yard is on Burton, but actually visually that's his side yard, and his front yard is on Campbell. So that's the need for the variance, is the shed is technically under the code in his front yard, but really if you look at Google Maps or any picture, it's really in his side yard. So what I spoke to him about is just making sure that we're gonna pretend that his front yard is his side yard and make sure that that shed complies with all the side yard and rear yard setbacks. So it's 3 feet from each wall. And there's a special condition that we are ready to read into the record to make sure that's accomplished, Ms. Edos.
Mr. Chairman, through you, the added condition will read, the residential accessory structure, quote, shed, shall be located 3 feet from the eastern and southern property line within 60 days of final action.
Thank you. And you agree with that, Mr.
Yes.
Robbins?
Yes, sir.
All right. With that, and you agree with all the other conditions of approval?
Yes.
All right. So with that being said, I'll make a motion, unless there's other comment, I'll make a motion for approval on agenda item 14, project number 23-0384 VAR1, subject to all of staff's conditions.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries.
And that item is final action tonight unless appealed to the city clerk in 10 days.
Moving on to item number 15, abeyance 230452 VAR1, applicant Joe Lopez, owner Extra Space Storage, for possible action on land use entitlement project to request to allow a proposed 8-foot tall front yard fence where 5 feet is the maximum height allowed at 1120 South Las Vegas Boulevard, Ward 3. Staff recommends denial. I will quickly disclose that I have property within the notification area. It doesn't affect me any greater or lesser. I will be voting on the application. And can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, staff finds no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented, and that the applicant has created a self-imposed hardship by constructing a front yard wall and fence that exceeds front yard wall and fence height requirements for the C2 General Commercial Zoning District. Designing the front yard wall and fence to 5 feet in height with a 2-foot solid base would allow conformance to Title 19 requirements. Therefore, staff recommends denial of this variance request. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Joe Lopez, and facility manager for Extra Space. I run the Las Vegas market.
Megan Gutierrez, 6274 Barton Manor.
I missed your first name, I'm sorry.
Megan.
Megan, thank you, Megan. Okay, can you tell us about the application, please?
Yes, so let me put these up here. So the application's really trying to expand our existing gate. We have an 8-foot gate, and I'll bring it up here. That's already existing on our property on the landscape side, and we're requesting to continue that fencing line. Along with that, we want to improve the landscape. We've been discussing back and forth with Commissioner Schlottman over how do we get this, more into the Las Vegas architectural design, but also add some landscape to enhance it and soften those fence lines, all related to safeguarding the property and just trying to protect our employees and our customers, currently as we're trying to conduct business there. So pretty much that's it. I think I'll show a couple pictures. These are some of the renderings. We've been working with our design team on the landscape. As you can see, we've added some additional landscape cactus and other things. On this side over here, we wanted to actually push the fence inward and add another layer of landscaping right outside so that we can kind of geometrically match it and soften that fence line across the whole front of the property. We're going to have 2 gates, this one being an emergency exit only, and then this one would be entrance for the employees, and it will remain open during business hours. And then closed down. So we have no access after business hours, and it's just really to try to keep some of the vagrancy and loitering and everything else that's been happening at the property there to help us conduct business.
Great.
Yeah. You have anything to add? No?
Okay, this was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and go to Commissioner Schlottman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, this item we held in advance 30 days ago, and I was able to meet with Megan and Joe, and thanks for all your effort and all of the communication, and I think we must have spoke about 15 times or exchanged tons of emails and everything else and met on site. So I kept going back and forth and trying to wrap my head around this and what we can do. And then I asked Joe for landscaping, and Joe come back with the landscaping that you see on the screen right now. So instead of it having a hard corner with just a fence, it softens it quite a bit, having these yucca and cactus and other desert landscaping. And even on the other side, the left side of the extra storage space, there's a little bit of landscape. And do you have another image of that, Joe?
I think, give me a second, let me see if I can find it. Well, I have it here, so let me just give you guys, this is actual, but this is our landscape right now existing.
Right, and that's all the way on the very far south portion of the site, which is nice because it's a buffer for that the building that you have back there. Do you have any of the south entryway?
Give me a second. Would it be this one here on this side?
Well, on the to the left of the extra storage space, just so the rest of the planning commission, anybody that's watching on TV knows, it'll look very similar. There it is. Here you go. So we have another little landscape island right there.
Yeah.
And then also, Joe, can you point at the left of that entry where you and I discussed? Yes, right there. There, and then in between that sidewalk and fence, there's like a 2-foot section. Yes. Right along the sidewalk that comes back about 15 feet, and we'd like to put in landscaping within that first little bit. That the fence, if you'll just keep that up for a second, just so everybody knows, that fence right there is about 2 feet off of the sidewalk right next to the entryway. But as you go further left, that fence comes to within like 4 to 6 inches of the sidewalk. So as we get down, we wouldn't have as much room to put landscaping. But the first 15 feet, we can soften that corner a lot by putting in landscaping, and you agree to putting in landscaping there as well,
Yes,
correct?
absolutely.
Okay. And then the fence that was, that we're looking at here on the left is existing. It's already an 8-foot fence on the property, permitted, so we're not increasing that fence. And regardless if you are replacing that fence or leaving that fence, that's not really my concern tonight. The rest of the fence that you're putting in is going to be somewhat a little bit more decorative than just a regular wrought iron fence, correct?
Yes, that is correct. We want to do some architectural design that will fit more of the theme of Las Vegas and kind of look nostalgic and kind of appealing for the public as well.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask planning staff to add something, just saying that it would be more decorative than just a regular wrought iron fence on the new portions that they're putting in, if we can think about some sort of condition there. And so let's go back to the other image just real quick, because this is kind of important. The one showing the landscaping on the opposite side. Okay, so condition number 6, just for clarification, states that they need to either get rid of this entry here or make this exit only. And if they make it an exit only, then that fence would have to come all the way out to the right of way. And per the condition number 6. And the problem that I had with bringing that fence all the way out to the right of way is now it gets rid of all the landscaping that would soften the edge coming through. So we talked to Mr. Pyatt from Public Works, and we feel that we can remove condition number 6, allow them to use this as an entry and exit because this is 24-foot wide, so we can have two-way traffic through. Condition number 8 talks about your hours of operation, and you'll leave these gates open that whole throughout that whole time. The last thing that we want it to happen would be for people to come into this gate, find out there's no call box, and have to back out on Las Vegas Boulevard. But with you leaving the gates open during the day, that alleviates that issue.
Yes, that is correct.
So I think everything I represented here is kind of what we talked about and what we agreed with.
Absolutely.
And you agree with all of that?
Yes, we agree.
Okay.
Great.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, I had 2 of the exhibits that were shown here tonight, but the one I would like to add to the record.
Okay. If you could give us the exhibits.
This exhibit, and we're looking at this one?
All right. And Mr. Pyatt, we are still good with striking condition number 6?
Through the chairman, yes, we are.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, through you, so we will strike condition number 6, and then we will add 2 additional conditions. The first will read, a revised landscape plan shall be submitted to and approved by the Department of Community Development at the time application is made for a building permit to reflect the changes presented at Planning Commission on 3/12/24. And then the second condition will read, the existing and new fencing shall consist of decorative wrought iron.
All right. And you agree to those added conditions are modified?
Yes, we agree.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, if there's no other comments, I'd like to make a motion.
Please do.
On item number 15, Advance 23-0452 VAR1, a move to approve, subject to the conditions as read into the record by staff and eliminating, striking condition number 6.
There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion does carry.
And Mr. Chairman, that item is final action tonight unless appealed to the city clerk in 10 days.
Great, and thanks to the applicant and Commissioner Schlotman for working on those
Thank you very
items
much,
together.
Commissioner and Chairman.
Moving on to item number 17, Abeyance 230653, applicant owner Yakoslav Weston, for possible action on the following land use entitlement project request at the northeast corner of Vegas Drive and Michael Way, Ward 5. Staff recommends denial. 17A, abeyance 230653 VAR1 to allow 7 parking spaces where 8 are required. And related item 17B, abeyance 230653 SDR1 for a proposed 2-story, 4-unit multifamily residential development with waivers of Title 1906 development standards. Can we get the staff report, please? Yep.
Mr. Chairman, due to the requested waivers and exceptions for landscaping that does not support the master plan, any parking variance, staff is not able to support the proposed multifamily development and is recommending denial of both applications. Thank you.
Is the applicant here tonight for item number 17? Commissioner, would you like to trail this, or would you like to hear this now?
Let's trail it. Through you, Mr. Chair, let's trail it, because I did meet the applicant on site to walk the project, and so we'll give them a chance to see if they come.
Okay, we're gonna trail this and move on to item number 18. Abeyance 230657 VAR1, applicant Henry Gutierrez Sosa, owner Ashley Naples, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request to allow a 0-foot separation from the principal dwelling unit where 6 feet is required and not to be aesthetically compatible with the principal dwelling unit where such is required for an existing residential accessory structure, a casita at 6529 Orchid Hill Circle, Ward 1. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance related to the physical characteristics of the property has been presented to warrant the requested variance. Staff finds the hardship is self-imposed and recommends denial of this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address, please, for the record?
Sorry. My name is Aseli Napoles, 6529 Orchid Hill Circle.
Hi, my name is Henry Gutierrez, 6529 Orchid Hill Circle.
Thank you. Can you tell us about the application?
We met with Mr. Rogan this past Wednesday on site, and he wanted to see the existing conditions of this addition and casita. And so here's a photo showing what it looks like currently. And after meeting with Mr. Rogan, here's another photo from another angle just showing the casita. After meeting with Mr. Rogan, we accepted his recommendation that we would go ahead and give it a new finish to match the existing residence. And we would also connect the casita to the main residence so that it would no longer be detached, it would be attached. And so technically our requests for variances are voided because it will meet all the requirements per code. It will be compatible with the finishes of the existing residence, and it will be connected with the main residence. And so we've worked with the design team to come up with some images as to what it will look like approximately when it is completed. The roof will be Spanish tile to match the existing residence. The exterior finish will be stucco to match in application and in color to the existing residence. And this wall here is the wall that will create a passageway connecting the main residence to the casita. All of the setbacks required per Title 19 are met. And we've also additionally obtained signatures from all of the surrounding neighbors, 6 signatures in total. And here is the letter with the neighbor signatures and with approval. That is all.
Okay, this was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing, and if you'd like to turn that in for the record, the neighbor signatures, and I'll go to Commissioner Rogan on this.
Thanks. I did meet with them, the applicant and the representative last week. The structure looks like it was well built. I can't say for sure. So like the other applicants that were here earlier this evening, you will have to go through the process for approval through the building department. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. I did come out there with the intention to see if we could attach the casita to the house, and there's only a short separation between the actual living room and the casita. But the problem is the setbacks on the casita. If they're attached to the house, they'd have to match the remaining setbacks of the house, and currently I don't believe that they do. So I can't make that a condition that you attach it to the house, actually, but I do think that I'm ready to approve this unless there's other conditions. I'm sorry, ready to approve it in concept, as long as you're in agreement that you have to make the casita aesthetically compatible to the remainder of the house.
Yes, sir.
All right, and so I believe there's some additional conditions or modified conditions that need to be read into the record.
Mr. Chairman, through you, just for clarification, what's being presented here tonight would not be satisfied by the variance we have before us. If the applicant chooses to proceed with this plan, we would need to hold this item and re-advertise it to accurately reflect what they've presented tonight. Otherwise, if we move forward with what we have here with us, they will not be able to construct what they have presented tonight.
Right, so, Ms. Edos, just to clarify, if they connect the casita to the house, that would be the problem that would be caused.
Yeah, once you connect to your house, then your casita now is part of the house, and it has to meet the setbacks for the home, which would be a 10-foot rear yard setback.
Exactly, and so that's why I'm not going to require that tonight. I'm going to make a motion to approve the variance with the 0-foot distance separation from the house, but not allow you to maintain it in its current condition and require you to make the casita aesthetically compatible to the remainder of the house. Would that satisfy, and we'll be able to proceed this morning, this evening?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that the applicant understood that if they wanted to proceed with this plan, we could hold and re-advertise if they chose to proceed with this that's been presented tonight.
We won't need to do that. The one thing that I did want to bring up with you is that washer dryer. After thinking about it, I don't like the idea that that washer and dryer is exposed and observable. So one of the conditions that they're going to read in tonight is that be removed or somehow enclosed so that it's not observable by people in the neighboring property. Would you agree to that?
Absolutely. Now, the washer and dryer will be in that hallway created between the residence and the casita, but we can certainly create an enclosure.
Okay, don't create the hallway between the residence and the casita. That's off the table.
Oh, that's off the table.
Yeah, don't do that. We're just going to approve it as advertised.
Oh, okay.
Forget about the connection, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so to address what you've discussed, Mr. Chairman, through you, we will strike condition of approval number 2. We will add a condition that reads, the washer and dryer located outside shall be removed within 180 days of final action. And an additional condition of approval will read, the residential accessory structure, quote-unquote casita, shall be aesthetically compatible with the principal dwelling unit within 180 days of final action. Thank you.
You have 6 months to get this done. Is that enough time?
Yes, tiene 6 meses para hacerlo. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I just want to make sure I'm not confused. So the condition is to remove the washer dryer?
Yes.
Not to create an enclosure?
Just shield it, remove it, whatever you need to do. It just can't be exposed like it is.
It can't be exposed. Okay, so we can't create an enclosure.
Whatever you're allowed to do under the building department guidelines.
Okay.
Okay.
And you're approving then the casita being connected to the house, just no hallway, no walkway?
No hallway.
Okay.
Just the casita being attached with, or there's a 0-foot distance separation between the casita and the house.
Understood.
So
okay.
Don't build the hallway.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
I think we're all clear.
Yep.
All right, so on agenda item 18, project 23-0657 VAR1, make a motion for approval subject to staff's conditions and the additional and modified conditions read into the record tonight.
Thank you, Commissioners. A motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. Pardon?
And striking condition 2.
And striking condition 2. So motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. That motion carries.
And that is final action tonight, unless appealed to the city clerk in 10 days.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to go on to item number 20. 230616, applicant owner Harrell Plumbing and Heating, Inc., for possible action on the following land use entitlement project request on the east side of 13th Street, approximately 358 feet south of Mesquite Avenue and 13th Street, Ward 5. Staff recommends approval. Item number 20A, 230616 VAR1, to allow 0 parking spaces where 7 are required. Related item 20B, 230616 VAR to allow a 15-foot rear yard setback where 20 feet is the required, and to allow a 2-foot distance between buildings where 10 feet is required. Related item 20C, 230616 SDR1 for a proposed 2-story, 3-unit multifamily residential development with waivers of the perimeter landscape buffer requirements. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the subject undeveloped site is a legal non-conforming lot that has an irregular triangular shape, which is the result of a portion of the lot being dedicated for the expansion of the US 95 highway. The subject site is located within the City of Las Vegas 2050 Master Plan for East Las Vegas area. The proposed development supports the City of Las Vegas 2050 Master Plan objective of providing additional housing options in order to meet the needs of the growing community. While variances and waivers are requested, it is noted that this is an infill development on an irregularly shaped legal non-conforming lot. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the requested variances and site development plan review. Please note there have been additional letters of support submitted since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address to the record, please?
Sure, it's Tal Harrell, 7775 Plaza Street, Las Vegas, A9123.
Thank you,
and I
Tal.
am the applicant, and I hopefully get this approved.
Would you like to tell us anything about the application?
Sure, we're trying to create cottages for affordable housing. This is an infill piece of property, and I built 2 condos adjacent to that in this area. And we just want to bring downtown back into affordable housing.
Cool.
Take a risk, go for it.
Like it. All right. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone like to be heard in this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing, turn it over to the commission, to Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, as we heard, this is an infill project. Interesting piece of land here, but it does, again, support the overall housing initiatives. And unless there's further comments, I'm ready to make a motion.
Please do.
I'd like to make a motion on item 23-0616, blanket motion A through C for approval.
Great. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries.
And that item will move on to City Council on April 17th.
Thank you, appreciate it.
On item number 17, is the applicant here for item number 17? It's an item that we're trailing. No? Okay. Sir, were you with item number 17? No, okay. All right. We are going to go to... They're all listening. Okay, moving on to item number 22, 230672 VAR1, applicant owner Goodhood at LLC for possible action on land use entitlement project to allow 152 square foot sign area where 75 square feet is the maximum allowed for proposed monument sign, and to allow a 50 square foot sign area for proposed projecting sign where 32 square feet is the maximum allowed at 201 and 211 South Las Vegas Boulevard, Ward 3. Staff recommends denial. Can we get staff report, please?
Good evening, George Ross.
Hold on 1 second, George. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance related to the physical characteristics of the property has been presented to warrant the requested variance. Staff finds the hardship is self-imposed and recommends denial of this request. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, George Ross for the applicant, 5030 Paradise Road, Suite C214, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89119. The subject property that I'm going to be presenting tonight is at 201 South Las Vegas Boulevard, with the adjacent garage that's newly constructed is at 211 South Las Vegas Boulevard at the southeast corner of Las Vegas and Carson. And what we're proposing this evening is the signage for the garage. This is a two-part garage in that It is for public parking, and it is also for the tenants and customers for the adjacent building. As you can see on the site plan, we have 4 proposed signs. One that's along Las Vegas Boulevard, 2 that are along Carson, and 1 that is along 6th Street. Here's the elevation, the top portion being the north elevation. And this sign right here is actually not going to be an LED sign as originally proposed. It is going to be kinetic art. The east elevation, as you can see, is the wraparound portion of that kinetic art. And on the west elevation, that is a sign for the parking garage, a directional sign. This sign is the one that's along Las Vegas Boulevard. It is going to be an LED sign. This sign, as you can see, is a directional sign for public parking. This sign is the one that I mentioned earlier that, as originally proposed, is going to be an LED sign, and we are not going to be building an LED. We will be using it for art. There'll be no commercial purposes for any of these signs. And lastly, the sign that's along 6th is another entrance to the garage for public parking.
Great. Thank you, George. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. And I want to say I do like this. It says Parkade on there. I think that's
Yes.
very cool. And I think you said kinetic art too, right?
Yes.
Very interesting. Commissioner Schlotman?
Yes, Chairman, through you, I was talking to Jay Dapper earlier about the project, and he was going through explaining kinetic art and some of the types of art that he was thinking of putting up there, so I'm looking forward to that. A couple of these signs are a little bit bigger than our code allows, but so is the one that he constructed over on the Hunch Ridge, which is one of my favorite signs in our downtown area. And so, look, I think everything that he does is he always does a great job with executing the plan, and I think these signs are fitting with the scale of the building, and you'll see my support tonight, and there's no other comments.
Commissioner Rogan?
What is kinetic art?
It's a fancy way of saying there are shiny pieces of, I guess, plastic and or glass, and then when the wind hits it, it will change colors, and it'll look somewhat silverish, and then it'll look dark, and it'll change as the wind blows, actually.
As I was speaking through you, Mr. Chair, with Mr. Dapper earlier, I was wondering the same thing, and I was Googling kinetic art, and then finally I asked him, what is kinetic art? And so he's shot me a video of what he's planning on putting up there. I'll share it with you later, so pretty cool stuff.
Great.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to make a motion on item number 22, 23-0672 VAR1. I move to approve, subject to staff's condition, and you agree to all staff's conditions.
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Great. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries.
And Mr. Chair, that item is final action tonight, and let's appeal to the city clerk in 10 days.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 23, 24003 VAR1, applicant owner Saeed Hossein Riza Zaida Mosavi, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request to allow an existing 6-foot-tall solid wall in the front yard where 5 feet with a 2-foot solid base is the maximum height allowed at 711 Campbell Drive, Ward 1. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance related to the physical characteristics of the property has been presented to warrant the requested variance. Staff finds the hardship is self-imposed and recommends denial of this request. If approved, a license agreement will be required for the portions of the wall and landscaping constructed within the public right-of-way. Please note additional letters of protest were received since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Good evening. My name is Syed Hossein Rezazadeh Musavi, 711 Campbell Drive, 89107.
Thank you. Can you tell us about the application?
Sure. The reason I put this wall around my property was to secure my property from vandalism and squatters getting into my property. And I have police reports. I had several times break into my property, and I put this wall around it, and after that, all of these criminal activities stopped. And I tried my best to find the best aesthetically looking nice walls to put around the property, because all of my lot is just graded and is undeveloped and is not looking nice if I have nothing around it. At the corner of Campbell and Palomino, we had an issue for traffic visibility. I addressed that by removing the fence and moving them back to making a corner on that corner. And also, I propose reducing the height of the wall on that corner to 3 feet and have a 3-foot horizontal, like a bar on top of that to address the visibility. And I have that on the pictures.
Okay. Did you want to share any pictures?
They just showed it on the monitor. Yeah, this is the corner of Campbell and Palomino, and I want to reduce the height of the walls and have this and do the landscaping around it.
Okay. Okay. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard on this item? I see a couple people. Mr. Musavi, if you can please step aside there and let these gentlemen speak.
Can I mention one more thing? I have also some of my neighbors' support for the wall I have. Yeah,
We'll give you a chance to come back up afterwards.
Hi, I'm John Rando. I live at 600 Campbell Drive. I'm familiar with Hans's fence. I would be in favor of him dropping the height down and putting up, it looks like slats that you can see through. This is one of the problems that the police have said that they do have with the solid wall. They had a gentleman about 2 months ago who was living in people's backyards, and he was able to hide back there because of the solid wall. They said if they can see through it, that would be much better. They'd be able to find him quicker. And, we spent about a good half hour or so with the police helicopter went and tracked him down. So if there's going to be slats and the actual wall is going to be taken down to about 2 to 3 feet like all the rest of the walls in the neighborhood, I would go ahead and support that. But if it's like it is now, none of us support that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rando. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
John J-O-H-N Rando, R-A-N-D-O, 600 Campbell Drive.
Thank you.
Jason Jackson, 720 Campbell. I live directly across from the house, and I'm okay with the fence meeting city code. It would follow what the rest of the neighborhood looks like. Right now, it looks like a compound, and to me, it's not aesthetically pleasing and doesn't fit the neighborhood. If it goes to the slats like he's suggesting, I don't really see an issue as long as it meets what the neighborhood is and city code.
Great. Thank you for coming out. Appreciate it. All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. Mr. Musavi, did you have some words you wanted to say? You had some support that you wanted to turn in?
Yeah, I have the support letter, and I have Mr. John's signature here, like he said, if I reduce the height, which I propose it here. You want me to show it again?
If you could just turn it in,
sure.
that'd be great. And I'm going to turn it over to the commission for discussion. Commissioner Rogan, excuse me.
Thank you, Chair, through you. Mr. Musavi, could you put the photo up again of what it is you propose to do? Because that does not match the backup that we received, does it? The backup only had...
Yeah, I have that.
Yeah, the backup that we have only has the slats on that corner portion of Palomino. It doesn't have it on the remainder of the property. Is it your intention that you're going to put those slats on the entire frontage?
On this area, yes, to the gate. From the corner to the gate. If I can show both, you can see. So,
well, okay,
this
that
area
wouldn't
is
be
ending here.
That wouldn't be the entirety of the front fence, would it?
No, it's not all entire of the front, because, let me show you this one. If I do all entire of the front, then my pool is here, and all this area will expose to the public. So I'm proposing to do the corner and here to the gate, this area.
Well, why can't you do it for the entirety of the front yard, which is Campbell Drive?
No, my front yard considered as a Palomino. Yes.
Like the problem we had before.
Campbell is the side. And actually my front yard is on Arabian, which is a private road, and we have a gate, and this is how we get to the house, and that's why here is the backyard. That's how they built the structure of the building back in 1954. And back, the pool is here, and this is the Palomino.
Where's your front door?
Here.
Where's your front door to this?
It's here.
Which street does it face?
Arabian Road.
Your front, I've ridden past it, it seems to face Campbell, doesn't it?
No.
Okay, I need to come out and look at your house. I emailed you the other day and you never responded.
I haven't received your email, I'm sorry.
You know, I'm not, a year ago you came before us with exactly the same thing with slightly other modifications, and I posted then. I'm seeing different photos on our backup than what you're presenting here tonight, so I'm utterly confused as to what it is that you're trying to do.
Yes,
so
the photo on the backup you have doesn't have this part.
It does not.
Coming to the gate, yes.
No,
But
so I need to come out.
I'm proposing to do this, yeah, because that's not a big deal.
I understand. I drove by again today, and I thought I understood what you were trying, what was proposed. I was not inclined to support it again tonight. So I need to see specifically what it is you're trying to do. I need to figure out where your front door is, because that's what I'm concerned about, that this is aesthetically compatible with your neighborhood. So I think we need to obey this, unfortunately. So unless anyone else has any comment, my motion would be to obey this to the April Planning Commission meeting, which is April 9th.
And I would just chime in, Commissioner, to the applicant, make sure that we don't want to design this thing here in the meeting, that everything we have is accurate, that's being represented to the commissioner and comes back to us and we know exactly what is happening, because we're just not going to go through this again with that process. So,
and Mr. Chairman, if I may, for staff, the site is a double frontage lot because it is on the corner, and we do have frontage on Arabian and Palomino, yes. So those two will have to comply with the front yard regardless of where his door is.
Understood.
Also, if you could please get us these revised drawings after what's decided, what the final application will look like, so that we have them for the record.
Thank you very much, Ms. Eddowes. All right, so my motion again is to obey this into the April 9th Planning Commission meeting, sir, and I emailed you. Please respond to that email so we can set up a time to meet soon. All right?
Of course.
okay, there's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries. Okay, moving on to item number 24, 24006 VAR1, applicant Juana Vizcarra, owner Juana Vizcarra and Guadalupe Vizcarra, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request to allow a 3-foot side yard setback where 5 feet is required for an existing residential accessory structure, detached patio cover, and a 4-foot side yard setback where 5 feet is required for an existing residential accessory structure, a shed, at 5309 West Gowan Road, Ward 5. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance related to the physical characteristics of the property has been presented to warrant the requested variance. Staff finds the hardship is self-imposed and recommends denial of this request. Please note additional letters of support were received since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address to the record, please?
Yes, good evening. My name is Jaime de la Vega. It's 6944 Erin Circle, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89145. And this is, we already agreed that we're going to demolish this existing patio cover and this shed. If I show you the picture in just a second. And another clarification is, this is the main structure, which is an open patio cover. 4 sides are open. And the setback here is not 3 feet, it's 4 feet. So, but we're planning to trim the eaves, so we're gonna be very, very close to the 5 feet. But it's still non-compliance. And let's see. This is a structure that we like to keep, and this is the big patio cover. And this shed and this patio cover is going to be demolished. And we already made the agreement.
Okay, thank you, Jaime. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and turn it over to Vice Chair Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I did go out and meet with Mr. De La Vega and the resident owner there, and just a couple of things about this particular site. Just to the west of the block wall there in question, in terms of the setbacks, is really a water well station, so it's desert, so there's not a residence there. And this is basically a custom home set up here throughout the neighborhood. Also, just to the south of this residence is a business with several, I guess, several surrounding covers and different things happening. So it's not like it's I'm okay with the larger structure, and he knows he has to go through the building department to get it permitted, but they're going to remove the two smaller to clean up the yard, because you can see it from the front yard there. The residence is also undergoing major renovation and new roof and siding and you know, quite a bit happening there. And so that back structure, the patio cover in the back will match the residence, and I'm okay with that, provided that they go through the building permit process and make sure it's sturdy, and any modifications made are done within the permitting process.
Okay. Seeing no one else's lights on, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion on item 24-006-VAR1, motion for approval, subject to staff's conditions, and I want to make sure you are aware and agree with staff's conditions.
Yes, we accept.
And noting that we're tearing down those two specific structures.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we tear down those.
And for the record, 90 days to have them removed?
Yeah, we can remove it by next week.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries.
And then we'll move on to City Council on April 17th.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Moving on to item number 25 and 25A through 25G. 240015, public hearing, applicant owner KB Homes Las Vegas Inc. et al. For possible action on the following land use entitlement project request on a portion of 21.14 acres at the southwest corner of Fleet Wing Avenue and Kettle Ridge Drive, APN's PC zoned SFSD, single-family special lot, special land use designation. Staff recommends denial. 25A, 240015, SCD1 through SCD3, SCD5, and SCD7 to allow a 3-foot setback to the living area from a residential street where the 8 feet is required at 1500, 1515, 1535, 1587, and 1595 Pacific Baza Street. 24B, related item 24B, 240015 SCD6, Summerlin major deviation to allow a 4-foot setback to the living area from a residential street where 8 feet is required at 1519 Pacific Baza Street. 25C, 24015 to allow a 2-foot setback to the living area from a residential street where 8 feet is required at 1543, 1547, 1551, 1555, 1559, and 1583 Pacific Baza Street. Related item 25D, 24015 to allow a 4-foot setback to the living area from a residential where 8 feet is required at 1589 and 1537 Crown Eagle Street. Related item 25E, 24015 to allow a 3-foot setback to the living area from a residential street where 8 feet is required at 1545, 1549, 1569, 1581, 1585, 1597, and 1605 Crown Eagle Street. And we continue on to related item 25, 240015 to allow a 3-foot setback to the living area from a residential street where 8 feet is required at 1614 and 1618 Rock Kestrel Street. Related item 25G, 240015 to allow a 2-foot setback to the living area from a residential street where 8 feet is required at 1546, 1550, 1554, 1558, 1562, 1566, 1570, 1574, 1578, 1582, 1586, 1590, 1594, 1598, 1602, 1606, and 1610 Rock Kestrel Street. Thank you, Nicole. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance related to the physical characteristics of the subject properties has been presented to warrant the request for 40 setback deviations. The hardship is self-imposed and an example of the applicant attempting to overdevelop each home site. Therefore, staff recommends denial of all requests. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, Bob Gronauer, 1980 Festival Plaza Drive. I'm here representing KB Home on all of these matters. Let me get your attention to the overhead. There's a few facts here that will make this a compelling reason to approve the applications that are before you. And I think to understand the facts, to appreciate why we're here, I think you'll agree to approve this application. First of all, we have an existing residential development under construction in Summerlin. KB had this project previously approved, and currently today, as you can see here on the aerial, they have about approximately 18 homes that are actually built, and in some of those 18 homes, you actually have people living in those homes that are up for the application that's before you tonight. As a matter of fact, if you take a look here, this is one of the street scenes. What's unique about this development also is, it's approved by Summerlin, is on one side of the street, the homes have 18-foot driveways, and on the other side of the street, they have 5-foot driveways. You have 6 models. 3 of the 6 models is a part of that 40 applications for the major deviation. And the reason is because 3 of the 6 models, as I'll show you here, have some architectural pop-outs which fall within the driveway on the second floor. This is what I'm showing you, that fall within that driveway or the front yard setback of the 3 or within 2 to 3 feet that I'm showing you on the overhead here. So essentially what we're asking for, if you take a look here in the green that you see here, these are the homes that are already constructed. Some of these homes already have people living in these. The yellow lots that are here are lots that aren't developed yet, but just in case we have 3 of those 6 models that are existing on any of these lots that I show you here, we want to get that approval in advance. So that's why you have the story of 40 applications for a major deviation. But I think it's important to mention is that although this is a front yard setback reduction, it's not on the ground floor that impacts the driveway. It impacts the second floor that we have that we're showing you. So that being said, I'd ask you to approve the 40 applications that are before you, and I'm here to answer any other questions that you might have.
Thank you very much. This is noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this item? Seeing none, I will close that and go to Commissioner Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a chance to go back out to this site since it's been built up a little bit more, and I never caught it. In fact, this is the first time I've heard of this type of requirement. Looking at them, going down the streets, they look fine. They don't, like, it's not like you're coming over the street or over a sidewalk the way they designed that type of home. So with the chair, I would like to make a blanket motion to approve 24-0015 and 24-0015, items 25A through 25, oh, sorry, I gotta look at the last one.
G.
G, okay, is it G? L? Yeah, G, okay.
I think we're talking about a blanket motion of 25A through G, is what I'm hearing.
Correct.
I have a G on the line.
That's what I had 40 items on the other agenda.
Chair, through you, Deputy Clerk Brian Carroll, I recognize the agendized as 25A1 through 25A40 is how we have agendized. So that'd be the motion we would need.
Okay, I mean, I can read every single one back in, too. I'm just kidding. Commissioner Walsh, could you say that one more time?
That's going to be items 25A.1 through 25A.40 is the items.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so that's your motion for
Yes.
A1 through A40. Okay, there's a motion, a blanket motion on the floor for approval. Okay, that motion carries.
And Mr. Chairman, that action is final tonight unless appealed to the clerk within 10 days.
Great.
Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you, you too. Is item number 17 here by chance? I'm going to make sure I call them out again.
Mr. Chairman, these two folks came in the middle. It could be them.
Are you here for item number 17 by chance? No? No, okay. All right. We will go on to item number 26, 240021 VAR applicant owner, the Perry C. Rogers and Nicole P. Rogers Family Trust, for possible action on land use entitlement project request to allow proposed residential accessory structure and patio cover to be placed in the front yard setback where such is not allowed, and to allow a 10-foot side yard setback where 15 feet is required for proposed patio cover at 3000 Arabian Road. Ward 1, staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, previously the Board of Zoning Adjustment approved a variance for a residential structure which allowed the structure to encroach into the front yard and side yard setback areas. The residential accessory structure has since been demolished through an issued and finalized demolition permit. The applicant is now requesting to place a new residential accessory structure, casita, and patio cover in the place of the demolished structure. Per the submitted justification letter, the applicant intends to utilize the casita for extended family to occupy during the holidays. However, no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented to warrant the requested variance. As such, the hardship is self-imposed, and staff recommends denial of the requested variance. Please note there have been additional letters of protest and support submitted since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant here for item number 26? Okay. Commissioner Rogan, have you had any chance to?
No, I didn't speak with this applicant. I didn't hear from the applicant, but what we can do is we can just debate till next month.
Okay.
I'll reach out to him.
Okay.
So
this was noticed as a public hearing. Seeing no one for this item, I will close the public hearing and go to Commissioner Rogan for.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, through you, with regard to agenda item 26, project 24-0021-VAR1, make a motion to obey to the April 9th Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries. Okay, moving on to item number 27, 240026 SUP applicant Luis Flores, owner Luke and Linda Choi Family Trust for possible action on land use entitlement project for proposed auto repair garage minor use at 2301 North Decatur Boulevard, Suite 150. Staff recommends approval. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, staff finds the proposed auto repair garage minor use can be conducted in a manner that is harmonious and compatible with the surrounding land uses, as there are commercial developments located to the north and south of the subject site that are intended to provide an array of commercial uses. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the special use permit request. Please note there have been additional letters of protest and support submitted since publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Yeah, my name is Jose Luis Flores, and my address is 2519 Montego Drive, Las Vegas.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. Would you like to tell us about the application?
Oh, no, she's my interpreter.
Would you like to tell us anything about the application?
Anything about the application?
Yeah, so what the project is that you're trying to get approved?
I'm sorry, he just called me today to help him out.
No
I don't
problem.
know much. I've been to his tire shop, actually, and
Okay. So he has a project, a proposed auto repair garage. Is there anything about that garage he wants to tell us? If not, that's okay.
No, that's fine. He just wants to get it approved.
Okay.
He's just ready to work.
I like that.
He recently moved here from California, and he sold his house. He purchased a property from me. I'm a realtor, and he started a business, so he's still here to help the community.
Okay, and can I get your name and address for the record too, please?
My name is Veronica Herrales, and my address is 10278. Oh my God.
It's okay.
I'm a little bit nervous. Oh my God, I just went.
I can never remember where I live either.
10278 Timber Willow Avenue, A9135, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Beautiful. Thank you, Veronica. Okay, this is noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. I'm going to go to the commission for discussion. Commissioner Williams, Vice Chair Williams, excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, I'd like to make a motion for approval on item 24-0026 SUP1. Motion for approval subject to staff conditions, and you do agree with staff conditions?
Okay. Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries.
And Mr. Chairman, that item will move on to City Council on April 17th, 2024. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to item number 29. 24-0041 applicant Jeff Whittle, owner L&E Irrevocable Trust for possible action on a land use entitlement project to allow a 40-foot front yard setback where 50 feet is the minimum required, and a 6-foot-tall vehicular and pedestrian gate where 5 feet is the maximum height allowed for a proposed single-family dwelling on the west side of Thom Boulevard, approximately 165 feet north of Grand Teton Drive, Ward 6. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented in that the applicant has created a self-imposed hardship by proposing the construction of a home that does not meet the minimum front yard setback or maximum height limits for front yard walls and fences. A 50-foot front yard setback with a 5-foot tall vehicle and pedestrian gate would allow conformance to Title 19 requirements. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address, please, for the record?
Good evening. Jennifer Escobedo, 6490 West Desert Inn Road, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89146, representing the applicant, Jeff Whittle, who is also here with me today. First, I want to start by saying we want to pull the request for the variance of the gate height. The dimension was errant on the architectural plan of that gate, and so he was not interested in exceeding the 5-foot height. So if we could put a note in that we're going to pull that variance request, that's number one. Two, I want to address the request for the reduction in the setback from 50 feet to 40 feet. There's a few things. First, I'm the civil engineer for the project, and with respect to the drainage, we're going to have to provide a drainage channel that runs around the entire perimeter of the property. I'm not sure yet how wide that's going to be, but it'll be 5 to 10 feet. Having said that, it's obviously going to take away from the usable space in the rear yard. The proposed 40-foot setback is also compatible with the adjacent homes. While I understand that the adjacent homes don't front Tome, they front other properties. The homes that are on the same side of the road to the south, they have a 31-foot setback from the right-of-way, and on the north side of the property, they have an 18-foot setback from the right-of-way. In addition, the proposed residence is the only house that's going to be fronting Tome, and the adjacent properties, including the ones adjacent across the street and down the road, are all surrounded by screen walls. So we feel that bringing the house 10 foot closer to the street will kind of complement that neighborhood. To my knowledge, there has not been any complaints, comments, or protest letters with respect to this development. So having said that, we're going to respectfully request your approval. We agree with all of staff's conditions, and if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. This is noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing, and I don't see Commissioner Taylor, but I can speak to this application. And just a quick question for Nicole on the polling of a variance. What process do we need to go for that portion?
Mr. Chairman, we will just need to strike condition of approval number 2.
On number 2, okay. And if I remember correctly, that was with it was really the gate that was above the 6 feet that was the
Yeah,
concern.
Mr. Chairman, the shape of the
Here it is.
pedestrian and vehicular gate kind of went up in a
Yeah.
peak that hit the 6 feet.
Yeah, and that's fine on the request of being pulled. I will say I personally didn't have a problem with it. And I did make a mention of, I hope planning looks at our code specific to those gates and entry points because they are architectural features usually, and that's where architects tend to land on the design element. But noting the polling of the variance, and I'm fine supporting this application unless there's any other comments from the commissioners. Okay, on item number 29, I'll make a motion for approval, noting the polling of the Commissioner Taylor? Hi.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I'm about to make a motion on an item number 29.
Is that, Jennifer, I apologize tremendously. I can't believe how quickly they got to 29, and I was having a conversation with Director Floyd. But I can just say this, if anybody else commented. Jennifer, thank you for the time today to chat about this item. And I did take the time to drive past it. And look, you've got this. This is great that you added in the 31 feet and the 18 feet to demonstrate that the residential adjacency is compatible with what the rest of that street looks like. And so I'm entirely comfortable, and I'm going to guess you were going to make that motion to approve.
I will, and Commissioner, to bring you up to speed, they're pulling the variance on the actual gate portion and just reducing that
To
down.
reduce it to the,
So,
I knew that
it's-
as well.
Yeah, so it's just that last portion that I was going to make the motion on and noting the striking of the variance.
That's perfect. If you would like to make the motion, since you were in the
Happy
midst
to
of
make the
doing it,
motion.
go ahead and do it. But thank you again, Jennifer.
I'm going to make a motion for approval, noting the striking of the variance for the gate. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries.
And that is final action tonight, unless appealed to the city clerk in 10 days.
Okay. All right. All right, going on to director's business. And before we do director's business, I don't see I'm going to call for item 17, the applicant, if they're here. I will say, Vice Chair, if you wanted to consider this.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, I'd actually like to make a motion for abeyance on item 23-0653. Would like to obey that to the April 9th Planning Commission meeting.
Okay, and this is for item number 17, correct?
Yes, item number 17.
Thank you.
A and B.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries. And moving on to director's business, item number 31, 230675 DIR1, applicant owner Century Communities of Nevada, LLC, for possible action on land use entitlement project for the Second Amendment of the Fifth Amendment and restatement of the Sky Canyon Development Agreement to amend the Exhibit L Village, Street, and Trail Sections, Ward 6. Staff recommends approval. We get the staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the Transportation Engineering Division of Public Works has no objection to the amendment of the Exhibit L and has provided the master developer with guidelines for safe design of the segments. The Nevada Department of Transportation concurs with the requirements put forth by the City of Las Vegas Department of Public Works. The improvements will further enhance the aesthetic appeal of the Sky Canyon community, and staff therefore recommends approval. Thank you.
Thanks. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Stephanie Allen, 1980 Festival Plaza Drive, here on behalf of the master developer, Century Communities, for the master plan community of Sky Canyon. Before you on the overhead is the master plan community. It's just to the west of US 95, south of Kyle Canyon Road. We very much appreciate the city's partnership with this development agreement that we've been working on for years now. The reason this is an amendment to the development agreement is all of the street sections are attached to the development agreement under Exhibit L. We are requesting an amendment just to one of them, which is the Osa Blanca frontage road alignment, reducing it from what was 80 feet to down to, in areas, a 63-foot frontage road. It'll be amenitized with sidewalks and landscaping, some benches as well, and as was mentioned, your Public Works Department as well as NDOT are in support of this revision. So we appreciate staff's recommendation of approval and would very much appreciate your approval this evening.
Thank you. This is noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard? Seeing no one, I will turn it over to the commission and go to Commissioner Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Stephanie, for the work on this and for the opportunity to learn about what you're doing with this. And I don't have any concerns about that. Unless anybody else has any questions, I'm prepared to make a motion on this item.
Please do.
Okay. For item 23-0675 DIR1, I would like to make a motion to approve the Second Amendment of the Fifth Amendment and restatement of the Sky Canyon Development Agreement to amend Exhibit L.
There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries.
Thank you very much.
And that item will move on to City Council on April 17th.
Okay, moving on to item number 32, 230676 DAR1, applicant owner Century Communities of Nevada LLC for possible action on a land use entitlement project for the First Amendment of the Second Amended and Restated Sky Canyon Parks Agreement. Staff recommends approval. Can we have the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, this amendment will allow the concept for Park 5.12 to be changed to a trailhead, which is appropriate for its location adjacent to federal lands to the west. This amendment will also provide a necessary update to the required facilities matrix, which the City of Las Vegas recognizes as the minimum amenities for all qualified parks within the Sky Canyon Master Plan area. Therefore, staff recommends approval of this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Name and address again, please.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Stephanie Allen, 1980 Festival Plaza Drive, here on behalf of the applicant and the master developer, Century Communities, for Sky Canyon Master Plan Community. Again, for your reference, this is the trail and park exhibit for Sky Canyon. The park that we're referring to is in the very northwest corner of the property. It's Park 5.12. You can see in yellow below it is drainage facilities, and it's immediately adjacent to Red Rock and some federal lands. In talking with staff and the BLM on this application, there was a discussion about changing this from a park to a trailhead just because of the opportunity with it being so close to the federal lands. There's also right down the road Igor Saldo Park, Officer Igor Saldo Park, right down the street from it. So you've already got a wonderful park amenity up there for the residents. This trailhead design, again, is attached to the development agreement, so it requires an amendment to that. The parks agreement of the development agreement, and this is the proposed concept plan that we would be switching out, if you will, from the original concept. You can see there have been some great, actually, changes to this. This area here is for horse trailers to park, so if people want to bring their horses up to this edge of Sky Canyon, they can hop on their horses from this trailhead into the federal lands. Also, regular parking is available, and then just some minor amenities within the trailhead area. In talking with Commissioner Taylor, we are happy to look into doing something similar to like Red Rock trailheads, where we would have some kind of bathroom facility that's not sewer capacity, but that has some type of facility for folks that come up to this trailhead. We'll work on that between now and City Council, but I did want to put that on the record and let the commission know that we are willing to look into that. So with that said, again, we very much appreciate your staff's continued partnership with this wonderful master plan community and their recommendation of approval on this amendment.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard on this item? Seeing one person? Nope. Okay, I will close the public hearing and we'll go to the commission. Commissioner Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you again, Ms. Allen, for the briefing on this. I note in your justification letter that you did note that it would be developed with ample amenities. The switch from the park to the trailhead would be developed with ample amenities, including a trailhead plaza, turf play area, shade structures, a bike riding path, a demonstration garden, which I think is fantastic, and 10 parking spaces. And again, I really applaud you for setting it up so that people can bring their horse trailers in and take advantage of that. As you noted, my one concern was there's no sort of restroom facilities here, and when you and I talked on the briefing, and again, as sort of demonstrated in your justification letter, there was a thought that this would be a place that families could hang out and people could be at for a while, and so I was concerned about not having that, people coming down off the trail on their horses and not having any restroom facilities. So I very much appreciate your continued and on-the-fly collaboration to try to come up with great solutions for our community, and so I will look forward to seeing what you come up with the councilwoman between now and City Council, and just thank you again for all the collaboration and all of the time and effort. So with that, unless there's any other questions, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Please do, and I will quickly say I think the Red Rock trailhead washrooms are a good example of something that would work well.
And I have heard that referenced in anticipation of what may be proposed as the Red Rock trailhead, so thank you.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Please do make a motion.
Okay, so with that, I would like on item 23-0676,
and moving on to our final item of citizens' participation, item 34.
Mr. Chairman, did we take action on 17?
Yes. We did, to obey it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for thinking of that. On item number 34, citizens' participation, public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to the matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Planning Commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If anybody wishes to be heard, anybody, come to the podium, give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Seeing no one, we will adjourn the meeting. All right.